Welcome into Fresh Talks Global Vision. We are opening voices and stopping the blaming and shaming through this courageous conversation. We are going to be talking about some incredible things about, where life takes you and journeys and some mishaps that happen. So I'm really excited to be talking to Jennifer, but she's known as Jenna L. Taylor. So, through this courageous conversation, we're going to be inspiring about healing, hope, and transformation. So, make sure that you have your journal and a pen so that you really hunker in any awarenesses that you have. I want to make sure that you grab it, put it in your journal so then you can see it as you're going along with the experience. We're live on YouTube right now. You're going to see it maybe in different areas. Make sure you go to YouTube and add your remarks. It would be wonderful. I'm your host, Rhonda Liebig. And through our humanitarian movement, I call hashtag Speaker Locking Arms, we believe that when people feel safe to share their truth, that they create ripples of changes that impact families, communities, and humanity itself. Today, I have the privilege of introducing Jenna L. Taylor, resilient strategist, keynote speaker, podcast host, and founder of the Resilience Brilliance. I love that rhyming there. Awesome, Jenna. And Jennifer's mission is deeply personal. She helps people reclaim their lives, overcome adversity, beat burnout, and navigate life's turbulence because she has walked this path herself. In 2017, a freak accident resulted in a traumatic brain injury that left her unable to walk, talk, or retain short-term memories. After dedicating a year to her physical recovery, life brought another unimaginable challenge. 4 years later, Jennifer's longtime partner tragically lost his life to an alcohol withdrawal-fueled suicide while she was actively trying to help him to get him the help that he needed. Oh, that got me for a moment. Jenna has not allowed these experiences to define herself through fear, blame, or hopelessness. Jennifer chooses this inspirational path of resilience and healing, which help others build their inner strength needed to create with her inner work. Today, Jenna equips leaders, teams, and individuals with practical tools to reduce burnout, strengthen engagement, reclaim their energy, increase their capacity, and sustain high performance without sacrificing their well-being. Her work reminds us that resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about discovering that even in our most challenging seasons, we have the ability to rise, rebuild, and reclaim our lives. Jennifer's story embodies the heart of Fresh Talks Global Vision and our Speaker Locking Arms movement by opening our voices, sharing our truth, and supporting one another through adversity. We stop the cycles of blaming and shaming that keep people suffering in silence. Together, we create freedom, safety, and healing and hope. Please join me in welcoming Jenna L. Taylor as we explore the power of resilience and discover how each of us can build the capacity to not only survive life's turbulence, but truly thrive because of it. Welcome in, Jenna.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. I'm so happy to be here.
Jenna, I got choked up a couple times. There's so many big things that you are moving and helping people with, and the experiences that you had that were deeply challenging. First one is basically not being able to walk, not really remembering things. I mean, and we're not that old, but I mean, to have something so major happen to you and then dealing with losing a loved one. So I appreciate you being here and getting out there and serving the world. Welcome in. Can you share, let's get connected with you in that area. Can you share more about where this is taking you today? Because you're doing all this work. So I know you're doing your work every day. Like, how are you showing up today? And how did that feel when you started to where you are right now? I'd love to hear.
Sure. Well, when I had that accident and I couldn't walk or talk and I had zero short-term memory, my mantra became reclaim my life. And it was the benchmark for everything I did. And I decided to give myself a full year to recover. And by doing so, I was able to work on the modalities that I needed to get to a place where I could function. And I needed that 1 year to see if I was going to be able to be high functioning like I am, or if I was going to be on Social Security or disability, excuse me, for the rest of my life, if I would be able to live independently again, or if I was going to need another living situation. And that mantra, Reclaim My Life, was so powerful. And it took me 10 months to get to the point where I was hired by IBM Watson Health, and they had no idea that I had just been so gravely injured. And then I took it a step further, and I kept that Reclaim My Life because it was working so well. And it helped me get through the relationship that I had, this turbulent relationship with my partner, who is an alcoholic, in and out of relapse states and in and out of our shared home. And all of that led to me using Reclaim My Life as my life's mantra. And when I was going through all of that, and especially right when he died, the EMTs came, knocked on the door. That's how close we were to getting him help. And he chose a different option. And that changed my life. It shattered me. I thought so many other things in my life were terrible. And then losing Michael just absolutely shattered me. And I didn't have my service animal because she had died when 10 weeks prior. So I was going through a lot of different big things within 10 weeks period. I had the hip surgery. I had my service animal die during my hip surgery. I had to rehab. I couldn't walk, right? Then I'm learning how to walk. I'm using a walker and then crutches and eventually walking on my own again. So I didn't have a dog to get me out of bed. I had no purpose. So the first time in my life, it was really dark. And I thought, wow, this is what people who fight depression feel like. And what a miserable place to be. And I got a new service animal. His going home name was Bobby. And I renamed him Mickey, M-I-K-I, in homage to Michael. And he got me up every morning, and he got me giggling. He got me out in the fresh air. I was so afraid he was going to go to the bathroom in my condo that I was like jumping out of bed, like, let's go. And to see life through his eyes, and he had been severely abused, and to see him experience life and joy and freedom, it catapulted me. And one day on a walk, I realized that Michael had chosen to end his life, but I got to choose how I was going to lead and live the rest of my life. And I was not going to be that bitter, resentful, angry, lonely person. I really made that commitment to choose to live my life well and be happy and joyful. And it goes back to that mantra of reclaiming my life. And when I was going through all of this, everyone around me just kept saying, Jenna, you are so resilient. I don't know how you do it. You are so resilient. Yeah. And I'm helping people with their problems at the same time as I'm just trying to keep my head afloat. And then my condo flooded, not once, but twice. And so I had to evacuate once. And the night before I was to come back, I got the call, and it was another flood, worse than the first one. And I never returned to my home again. So then now within 12 weeks of my hip surgery, you add in an impromptu forced move. That's a lot to rock anybody's world, one of those things. And then I just did like 5 in 12 weeks. So using the reclaiming my life, and then everybody telling me how, and choosing to choose happiness and joy in my life moving forward. Yeah. And all these people telling me, I'm so resilient. I decided, okay, I'm stopping the resisting. I had been burned out on what I was doing. It had served me well. I had burned out prior to my accident in 2017, but it's what I knew. And I knew that I could do it. I had done it before, so I would do it again. But I was burning out again. And so this was like, now I'm aligned with my soul's purpose. And I want to help other people make these decisions for their own lives.
I want to put my arms around all of that. That is crazy. So if I take a step back, I just want to hold the space of the 10-week experience. And really you are doing your work to be able to heal and bring yourself together mentally. And people on the outside were saying you were resilient, but it sounds like you were doing so much work to be able to put yourself in a place where you could manage life. And so not everybody understands those tools and what you were doing. So two questions for you that I think go into alignment with it. Is there some type of spiritual journey you went to be able to find that connection and the higher power to get you into the space of connecting with the work you were doing for yourself mentally and for your spirit? And then also what does that work look like? Because I want to go into that next layer, but I really want to hold the space of resiliency there.
Sure. I was prior to this, my entire life, I've just been a self-development junkie. And so it didn't start when all of in this 10-week period. In fact, a year before Michael's death, I started therapy to deal with, I knew how to be in a relationship with somebody who's healthy. I didn't understand the dynamics and complexities of being in relationship with someone who has an active addiction, because the rules don't apply. And then when you think you understand, then the situation changes and you're like, your head spins. And so I was in active therapy weekly with a therapist who specialized in addiction to help me frame my relationship. And my goal was to be able to help him without, like, our metaphor was throw the life raft, those life preservers, throw it in when he's in the white water, but don't jump in after him. Get him to shore, me stay on shore, give him the life preserver, but don't jump into the dangerous water with him. Because every time prior I had done that, then my whole world was topsy-turvy. So I had started doing deep work the year before he died, and that helped me cope better with the aftermath of, the first year of grieving is I always say grief is a beast. The love that you have for someone just doesn't stop because they died. And you have this craziness of emotions, and the world doesn't make sense. And when it's dark, like I said, for the first time in my life, I was like, wow, this is really dark. I feel for those people who can't get out of bed. That's so. Going back to your question, I remember I have a brain injury, so we're working backwards now.
I'm here to help you any step of the way.
Well, so the question I believe you said was, what tools was I using then? So in that 10-week period, I was using
Anna, I wanted to ask you also, like, I keep hearing there's a spiritual connection here. Is there something because you're talking about therapy, which is great. So you're getting in alignment, but there's some things that, like, where you are today and what you're doing, is there some type of spiritual alignment that you all are on, like, man, I need to step into this more, and then right, we're in the right direction.
Yeah, good to pick up on that. But yes, I'm very much in tune. I'm a highly intuitive person. And again, I got into meditation. I started in 2010, and I really, really immersed myself in quantum physics and meditation in 2014. And I did some meditation retreats, and to deepen that awareness, I read about highly intuitiveness and all the different chakras. And I'm extremely, most people would say psychic. Like, I was psychic at a very young age, what we call highly intuitive. I've predicted deaths. I've predicted people calling, and, like one day my brother had crashed his vehicle and the phone rang. Remember, this is in the 80s. We don't have caller ID. Mm-hmm. We may have just gotten push button phones, right? So the regular pick up the phone on a cord, and the phone rang, and I ran, and I had fainted that morning, which was weird. Like, my body knew something was wrong. I fainted, hit my head on the bathroom vanity, and the phone rang in my parents' room. I ran, grabbed it, and I said, "Brother, are you okay?" And he was like silent. And and he goes, I said, brother, are you okay? And he goes, I haven't said anything. Jen, I haven't spoken. I said, I know you crashed your car. Are you okay? And, to this day, I still get, my hair is, right. And he was freaked out because he's like, I haven't told anyone. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like highly intuitive. So I've always had that part of me that's kind of innate, but I've listened to it. A lot of times people quash that and think, that's just weird or crazy or woo-woo or whatever word you want to use. So I deepened that between 2010 and 2014, 2017, I really, really deepened that to a very high level. And so, yes, to this day, I'm a very intuitive, soulful person.
That the type of work that you are doing, people are blessed to be with you when you're holding the space with them. You brought up the thing about like this woo-woo, and people don't really get into, like, they can hear or understand things, but they just kind of wash it like, well, that's just a coincidence, and like just consistently doing that. So I'm glad that you stepped into that, because that's such a superpower. And how does that help you with what you are doing? And let's talk about more of your mission. And then I want to go into perhaps maybe some stories around how you're able to help with your intuition and your guidance, and how you help clients. So the first thing is, how does this work for you these days? Like, how are you able to use this to help in what you feel is like your deeper mission, and every soul that you get to touch? Even when you're speaking, you're helping people, and they're not your clients. I mean, we are in Fresh Talks Global Vision, and you're here helping people. So I'm thinking that was your intuition to be here with me today, because I have tears in my eyes. I really care about what you're doing. And I think perhaps I have a little bit of that in me, but I'm not sure. But I know when I was in fourth grade, I did have a friend that passed away, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But I was kind of probably washing it aside, or I can just feel that there's a shift in something. So I'm learning that myself at this time. So I'd love to hear more about that. How's that help you in your seeing your guidance as like your mission and what you're doing, and how you use this?
In my experience, a person can have voices in their head that are critics, that most people have, or they can be steered by the intuitive, the self-confidence, the belief, quantum physics, and I am that person. So when I hear people, especially people near me, friends, family, I can't, that's not me, that's you, that's not how I am, I can't possibly be that way. You know what I'm saying? They've created this version of themselves that they're holding hard and true and fast to, and it's not serving them. So a lot of times people are in the way of themselves. They're in their own way. They're in their way of getting healthy. They're in their own way of being happy, feeling joy, and they like being the victim. And
Jenna, I think it affects our health.
Of course it does.
You're just tightening, and there's things that happen with that also.
We aren't meant to stay in this fight or flight place. And the longer we stay in that stress, the more our body deteriorates, because it shifts and it starts altering our health and all of our digestion, our circulation, our metabolism, our hormones, all of our systems. And that's when disease enters into our life. So when people don't tackle emotions, I just said something on LinkedIn today about responding to someone's post about alcoholics. And, I have my experience on the other side of alcoholism. And so many people don't want to do the work. They don't want to peel the layer. They don't want to get to the root cause. And Michael was a case in point. He would abstain, but then he would be miserable because he didn't He told me he didn't feel or believe that he could ever be happy if he wasn't drinking. And that is a very sad place. And a lot of addicts will feel that and express that will resonate with them. And, we have the power in our mind, and what we tell ourselves and what we believe will make things happen for us. They will make those positive shifts. And so bringing this awareness that we have that power, and back to the spiritual part, all the answers to all of our problems they're right here. They lie within us. We have to allow ourselves the honor and the privilege and the courage to be bold and brave and look at ourselves. And a lot of times people are so fragile. This chokes me up thinking about it. People are so fragile that they can't look inside themselves because they feel that that's a rejection, failure, and they don't want to be vulnerable even with themselves. And if we can't be vulnerable with ourselves and be honest and take an honest inventory of where we are, strengths and shortcomings, then we can't be a good human in the world, and we can't be a good partner. We can't be a good employee. We can't be a good representative of humanity. So it's just this huge.
Can we hold the space there for a moment to be human about this? Because I do want to go into your next layer, but you are saying such great facts about how people do not want to be vulnerable. They're trying to protect themselves, and they think they are. So it could be a little bit more human and like thinking about the emotion around that, because I know with your intuition, what perhaps would be a reason why people want to, like, because especially if they're around you or they're around me, I mean, they know that it's at this point, they know it's probably possible that something could change. But my question is, and I wanted to add a story right before or after I ask this question, I'll go back into the question again, but it's what stops people from doing the work? And my quick story around this, because I want to hear your thing, is I had something happen like 4 months ago. And I'm in meditation probably for this month and a half. I've been in meditation probably almost 50 hours. So I'm like serious, because I mean, Jenna, we're in a space of like understanding if I get mental help and I do additional things, that it's going to take me to a whole different level. And I trust the process because I've been doing this for a while. But there's people out there that they don't know what the ability for them can be because they may perhaps not have experienced it. And so when I go into meditation, I'm almost scared my brain is, because it's like, because my brain is like, here, there's so many changes going on. By the time you get out, you're going to be this different person. But my spirit is just saying, oh yeah, this is my connection to it. But my brain with that fight or flight, I first get into it, there's a little bit of scared factor there. And I've been in the industry for like 16 years. So for you and the experience that you've had with the people where you've seen them struggle, but they want to do the work that you're sharing with them, because it seems like there's a connection, but you see there's something that they're missing in that step that they're very afraid to, or they just don't think it's for them.
Yeah, I'm jotting down notes.
And I'm here for you, my friend, if you want me to reiterate anything.
Nope. Fear, as you said. People are so afraid. They're afraid people aren't going to like them if they're vulnerable and they show their true self. Fear of the unknown. And one of my favorite, I love this book. It's, and I can never remember the name of it.
We'll make sure we put it in the notes.
What if the subtitle is "What if you're riding what if you're riding a dead horse?" It'll come to me. Judith Sills, PhD, is the author, and it's all about fear. We we become so afraid of the thing that it becomes bigger than our fear becomes bigger than the thing itself. So for example, my example is when I was deciding whether or not to divorce my husband way back when,
Yeah.
I made it huge. I mean, it's a heavy decision, right? You're breaking up the family, you're breaking up a marriage, you're breaking up a commitment, you're changing your lives, you're going to change housing, you know, it's going to affect your family, it's going to affect your friends, it's going to help, you know, affect your health, blah, 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 right? All of these things, it's just this huge ripple effect. And so I took a very different approach, and I went through a course, and all these people were recovering from their divorces up to 15 years. And I was the only one married going through this rebuilding. It's Rebuilding When Your Relationship Ends class by Dr. Bruce Fisher. Yeah. And I started reading this book. It's called The Comfort Trap.
It's right there.
I know. I didn't want to roll back, but it was driving me crazy. It's called The Comfort Trap. And I got into it and I used it as a workbook because I needed help. I was paralyzed for the first time in my life. What if I made the wrong decision, right? So sometimes people just stay in a place because they're not happy, but they're afraid to go this way and they're afraid to go make this decision. And I needed to unparalyze myself. And when I got done and went through it all, and our family of 3 reacted, responded, and we, you know, looking back after it, I was like, I made it so much bigger than it needed to be. And so fear plays a huge role in why people aren't willing to do the work. And I also wrote down, they don't know where to start. They think that they have to prepare. They think I have to finish my therapy. Well, what I teach is in tandem. You can continue doing your therapy if you want to learn more about what's going on. What I teach is completely different. And this is what I tell people, start right where you are, start right now, start right here. You don't have to, you just make the decision. Recognizing, in fact, I have a 5R framework, but recognizing is the first step. When you recognize and you're aware that where you are isn't working for you, but you're too afraid or you don't know where to turn, then, you know, definitely look at The Comfort Trap, because like I said, to this day, that is one of my top books. Why? Every time I try to quote it, I can never remember it. I'm going to blame that on the brain injury. But I remember the subtitle and the author's name, so that's 2 out of 3.
It totally is.
And that's the other thing is, don't take yourself so seriously. Like here I am, I'm speaking live, and I'm like, couldn't think of one thing, and like I'm laughing about it. It's not a big deal, right? So don't take yourself so seriously and give yourself grace. We need more grace in this world because life is hard, life is messy, and what I say is life is turbulent. We're going to have turbulence in our life, and we're going to have smooth sailing. And when we're having those turbulent events in our life, that's when you need to really rely on your resilience. And learning how to run on resilience on autopilot is what I teach people, so that you can bend without breaking. Think of the tree in a storm, right? They bend. We don't want to snap.
Yeah.
And when we snap, then we have to work a lot harder to get where we want to be. So I help people and organizations like look for those signs of burnout.
Yeah. And I love what we're circling all around in this area too, is like if you don't learn your lesson right away, then it's like, yeah, something big is going to snap. And I think of this also,
and it's going to keep coming back at you until you learn that lesson.
Exactly.
That is part of the universe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think of it as like when I have something coming at me, I'm like, let go, you know, like let it be. Walk through that emotion. Don't expect that, because that's not what's happening right now. And there's this talking to I have to have with myself, like, hey, walk myself down off the ladder, or something. So I love this area, because this is, I mean, there's a lot of pain going on out in this world. When you're doing this work, this work that you're talking about, you still have pain in your life, and sometimes if you're holding on so tight, that pain is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until you learn your lesson, or you just self implode.
Right.
Which we do not like to see, because there's so many people that really need this work. So I know that if I keep helping people in the sense of, let's keep speaking about, the things that you want to work through, what you're talking about, but also the positivity, because that energy is what gets that heart and brain, like it relaxes the brain, so you can get into more of like a partnership. And that's where you can, when there's big things happening and you feel vulnerable, you can still give the love instead of combative, instead of controlling. With the skills that you have, being able to really know something's going on as it's happening, but you may not even be in the experience, or you know it a little bit ahead of time, and having clients, like creating this experience for people that are like, I'm in. And also the experiences that you've had in this life, where it was so many things going on with you in your health and wellness, to the 10 weeks of just bam, 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 like 5 things happening. Where does all of this craziness, how'd you land that consistently? Not that, okay, I'm better now, because I'm thinking patterns come up, and, and you're still doing your work and clearing and stuff. How does that come up to strengthen what you do, to be able to help your clients so that they know they have the depths of all your experience and the wisdom of being able to work through the emotion to where you are now, where people were calling resilient, but you're like, no, there's something else here, because we're just not, we can't push it down and not do the work and be resilient, because your body will self implode. So there's a lot there, but when you tether it together, all those experiences, things that come up for you, I know you keep growing just like we all do in this work. How does that help others be able to get in that space and know that you got their back, know that everything is going to be okay, because now it's going to come the vulnerability for them. So could you give a story, an experience, as we start transitioning out of our conversation, so I can really hear this great stuff you're doing, because you're magical. I've cried a couple times already.
Thank you. Well, before I begin, I'm going to start with social support is so important. And I'm a high E. I am almost off the charts E on the Myers-Briggs scale. And so being with people lights me up. Engaging with people lights me up. And so social support is a huge part of resilience. And so what I teach people is like, your toolbox. You got a resilience toolbox. And I teach them all the different tools, and social support is one of them. And one of the things that's very important when I talked about people who have that victim mentality, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. Those people, the Debbie Downers that just, oh, my life's just terrible, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
That persona repels people over time when they're unwilling to do the work themselves. They just want to complain about their life and make other people miserable in their midst.
Or fight. They're fighting a battle that's really not there in front of them.
Yeah. But that repels that habit, because that's what it is. Behavior and habit repels people. So when you need support the most, if you don't change your habits and your behavior, you're going to find yourself all alone. And that's the opposite of resilience. You need that social support. And so what I do, obviously I'm a social butterfly, but let me tell you, when I was severely injured, I couldn't have any light on me, none. I still have light sensitivity when I go outside. I mean, I have a visor on, I have sunglasses on, I'm the visor girl. And, they make an exception for hats because I need the visor at our club. I kind of lost my train of thought there. I exude my resilience in how I live my life, and I model it. And that is, people have always been attracted to my personality because I'm so bright and shiny. And that when I was injured, I couldn't engage with people. I had to isolate. People would come over and bring me meals because I couldn't cook. And I couldn't make food for myself for a long time. And when people came, I couldn't talk to them. My hearing was so sensitive, and still sensitive to hearing. My head was like in a vice grip, and it was being squeezed all the time. So dark room, no sound, earplugs, sunglasses in my house, and blinds drawn. I'm not that person. Let the sun in, and so to be in that, literally be in that place of physical darkness was a challenge for someone like me, because I knew, even though I didn't have short-term memory, and I would repeat myself ad nauseum, and people were just like looking at me. I'm like, I already said that. I already asked you that. And they're like, yeah. I mean, so, and now my dad has Alzheimer's. And so it just pains me because I look at him and he doesn't have it, and he can't talk. And now he can't even have a conversation on the phone because he doesn't understand what the phone is. And I relate to that because I lived it. And people are like, there's no way in hell you have a brain injury. No way you had zero short-term memory. No way. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, I worked really hard. We have to do the work, and I live my life from a state of resilience. I don't even have to acknowledge what tool I'm pulling out of my toolkit because it's innate in me at this point. I mean, yeah, are there days I have bad days? You betcha. But you know what? The first thing I do, I emote. Emotions and crying are the best way to immediately let go of that emotional charge. And then, of course, the meditation. Think of it as a movie. Something bad is happening in your life. Allow that movie to start and enter into your field of vision. While it's here, acknowledge it. Feel the pain, feel the hurt, the anger, whatever emotion you feel, and then push play. And as it leaves your brain, right? As it leaves, you let it go. And when you let that vision go, you let go of that emotional charge. Yeah. That is a tool that anybody can use when they're caught up. It's so easy to get caught up in this vibration up here that's so bad, right? And then breathing, and I like to tell people to place their hand on their heart, and I do a double. I'll roll back, do this and breathe. And just be. Tune out the world. Sigh. When we sigh out our mouth, we get rid of that stale energy that's caught up in us. These are just really easy ways that we can calm our central nervous system down. It doesn't cost anything. And this is what I like to tell people that are in the workplace. No deadline is so tight that you can't take 90 seconds to decompress. Yeah, 90 seconds is all we need for a pattern disruptor to calm our central nervous system. 90 seconds. It doesn't matter where you are, what's going on. 90 seconds is not going to cost you. It's not going to be a deal breaker.
That's good to have that information because people, if they don't know that, this is a really good thing to remember when we're talking about what our conversation is, because sometimes you think that you used to have to keep going and going and going because it takes so long to reset that you're just going to let it chase you. And I love this conversation. We have had such a great, insightful conversation. Thank you for giving your heart, giving the experience of what you've gone through. And I'd like to bring you back in about 6 months, like what we do, just to hear where you are in your experience. So we can do a part 2 to this and just keep going. So I'm
Alexa,
really,
stop.
really excited. Is she talking to you? Your little
Oh, yeah, my echo.
I was wondering if there's someone in your house making that. That is so funny.
No, I turned my mic off to tell her,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have routines. So that's the other thing. I have routines set up on my device that tell me when to stretch, or she was just wanting me to get up and do a yoga pose. So,
Of course. Well, why would she not want you to do that? See, she has your higher good, even though your future self already told you need to do that. So this is great. Jennifer Taylor, Jenna with one N, Jennifer
yes.
with two N's. Thank you, my friend, for being here. You brought a light, and I had a little bit of a weepiness, so I had some release. And here's for you out there in Fresh Talks Global Vision community, wherever you're catching this, is remember that crying releases when you bring in doubt and stuff on you that you're not supposed to be crying. That can make it so you're not releasing it, but almost shaming yourself. Be so careful. And can you go back to the beginning of this, everyone? What I want you to do is really look at the notes that you took, or if you haven't yet, because I know there's some light and lift that happened for you. And it's hard to walk away from something and actually add in to your life. And so do this work for yourself so that you can move forward in everything you're doing, and add your comments. Share with us what your experience was here. If there's just a few minutes you were here, or if you listened to the whole thing. So namaste, and I love you. And thank you again, Jenna Taylor. I appreciate you. Namaste.
Thank you. Pleasure. It's all mine.
Thank you. Love you, Fresh Talks Global Vision. Remember, hashtag Speaker Locking Arms. Today we opened up the voice, and we figured out ways to go and move forward away from blaming and shaming. And the internal work really starts within yourself. But when you feel that and you get in alignment, you exude, like Jenna Taylor was talking about. You learn to live in resilience, but that also means that you're not stuffing it down, and it's the exterior that you're resilient. It's that you're crying, you're emoting, you're having this experience so that you can keep the balance in your life and appreciate when those lulls come down, that hey, somebody's got your back. And that's your spiritual journey. It's your tools, it's your friends, like we were talking about, community, it's your coach. So make sure you connect with Jenna L. Taylor. Love you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.